Road for the catering today. Thank you. We're going to leave the door open because it's a bit warm in here. If that's okay with everybody. Should we close it? Can we close the door now? Okay, once again, thank you for everybody for attending. We're just going to take any apologies for absence from anybody. Any other councillors that couldn't access, so we'll take our apologies. Any declarations of interest? Any other communications from members? No? Okay. So we're going to start off with a presentation from Andrew Devine, the licensing team. And we're going to have the presentation on the screen now. You okay, Andrew?
Hi, good evening, everybody. My name is Andrew Devine. I'm the Regulatory Manager for Community Standards, and I'm here to talk to you about the Cumulative Impact Assessment Review that has been underway within the Borough. It is an appendix to the larger licensing policy that we have in place, and that was last reviewed in 2020 and will be ready to be reviewed again prior to 2025. As I said, the cumulative impact, it forms an appendix to the existing licensing policy, and we must review this every 3 years, and that's why we're not doing it at the same time as the licensing policy. Cumulative impact, the assessment, it provides the evidence to show where cumulative impact, so the number or increased number of licensed premises may be causing impact, and it's negatively affected one or more of the 4 licensing objectives. And these are the prevention of crime and disorder, public safety, prevention of public nuisance, and obviously the protection of children from harm. The cumulative impact assessment, essentially when we receive a licensing application, it is an aim to permit. So if an application falls within a cumulative impact assessment area, and we do receive a representation, we actually introduce a rebuttal presumption, which means that if any license application, new or extended, was to receive a representation, either from one of the responsible authorities or from a resident, then it is up to the applicant to prove the granting of that application. And at that point, if the representations weren't withdrawn, that would move on to and be decided at a licensing panel. So obviously the representation needs to be based on one of the 4 licensing objectives as set out in the Licensing Act 2003. So where a consideration of a CIA is required under the Licensing Act, the council must provide its evidence to support the cumulative impact. And we've been working with a consultant who's worked with us in the past to obviously look at all the data and information behind it, and once we compiled that, it was produced into a draft cumulative impact assessment, and a public consultation went underway. With regards to the cumulative impact assessment, it's been in place in the borough since 2015. Originally, it covered Hounslow Town Centre and some of the surrounding neighbourhoods, but in 2020 there was an extension to the areas covered, which included most of Heston. And I'll have some maps just in a bit to show you the original area, the extension, and obviously some of the areas or the area of interest that we're looking at the moment. So the current assessment has reviewed the evidence to retain the existing areas, and also considers, as I say, the evidence for cumulative impact in the Cranford area. And the recent consultation on the draft was that the data was reviewed in October of last year, and it's the maps showing these locations I have on the next slide. So what we can see here is this: the red area is the existing or the original cumulative impact area, and the extension in 2020 is the blue area. With the data, evidence and information that we've looked at the moment, we're also looking at a proposed area of interest, which is the Cranford area of interest. The so once this is the draft at the moment, and obviously we've had an open consultation on this at the moment, but I wanted to come here today just to talk through this, and obviously if you had any questions or anything on that we're here and available to field those. Finally, my colleague Lorian is with us now, and just to talk a little bit as well about the PSPO.
Thank you. My name is Lorian Kelly. I'm the Neighbourhood Enforcement Manager for the Council. As some of you may be aware, we have a borough-wide PSPO, which is a Public Space Protection Order, which targets antisocial behaviour associated with street drinking. Street drinking is one of the major drivers in terms of developing the community impact assessment. So officers from my team work very closely with colleagues across the council and our colleagues in the police to target street drinking, and this piece of legislation is really effective for us. It enables us to do that. We do have the ability to issue on-the-spot fixed penalty notices for individuals that are associated with antisocial behaviour and street drinking if they continue to drink and they refuse to give up their drinking receptacles. So we're very much interested in finding out some information. We have a good idea about where some of the hotspots are, and we can share the details how you can report that to the local authority. And also to say my team work very closely with Andrew's team when there are ever any licensing consultations or proposals put forward. We are one of the responsible authorities, or part of the responsible authority that consult on them. And we would take into account things like noise complaints, antisocial behaviour complaints. Has a premise been operating outside of their hours? Are there people gathering outside? Is there antisocial behaviour associated, etc., etc.? And one of the main tools that enable us to do that is sort of reports and data that we get from members of the public, from councillors, etc. So we will share afterwards, and I can circulate it for the councillors to share. But it is really important, if there are any concerns, that you report that to the authority, because that gives us the data to enable us to either potentially put a rejection or a complaint in against any of these licensing proposals that come in. So that's it from us really, and we're here to answer any questions about the cumulative impact.
Yes, the recent cumulative impact assessment.
What's the best way to make the complaint?
The best way, so if you have a representation to make, the best way to do that for any application that's out in public consultation for a licensed premises is to licensing@hounslow.gov.uk.
Okay, thanks. Any questions? I've got Councillor Gill.
Okay. My question is, if the PSPO is apply on the park and the commercial car park as well, because the lot of people have a complaint and they are contacted the councillors. Some kids especially, they are using the commercial car parks and the parks at evening, at the late night. So how you can protect on that side?
So the PSPO covers council land, public land, so I would need to confirm the exact locations, and I can share my email address after, or happy to send it across to the councillors. It depends on where exactly they are gathering, but send that information through to us and we can pick that up, either myself or our colleagues in the police.
Councillor Garua.
Please, could you tell me how would you do that enforcement if somebody informs you? How would you enforce it?
How would we enforce it?
That's right.
We approach the individual, we ask them to cease drinking or cease from their antisocial behaviour. If they don't, we can issue an on-the-spot fixed penalty notice of £100, or we can potentially prosecute for breach of the offence. My officers do, the police do.
But do we have officers on the street all the time?
Not all the time, but we can target them. We have a lot of officers that can and do.
But how do we contact the officers if somebody is drinking in the park? How do we get in touch with them, and how would they come there? Sorry. Yeah.
So I can share my details. You can report issues online. You can contact the customer call centre. It will all come through to my team.
By telephone?
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you.
So I heard the concerns about how it's enforced at night.
At night?
So my team works 7 days a week. We work until 11 p.m. Sunday to Thursday, until 2 a.m. on Friday and Saturday. And also colleagues in the police will do late hours. We've got the funded team that work until 1 a.m. I believe, so there is cover during antisocial behaviour hours as well.
Just a question from me. Will you increase your patrol during the summer months when there's going to be more sort of people paying visits to the park?
Well, we do tend to find antisocial behaviour tends to migrate, so in the winter we see more of it in our housing estates because individuals are perhaps looking for shelter, stairwells, bin stores, things like that. And there is obviously an increase in activity in the parks, particularly associated with, you know, gatherings, and we've got some events, etc. So yeah, we do tailor our patrols accordingly.
Councillor Malik, and then we're going to go to Mr. Shah.
Okay, we do have issue in Beavers Park, and a lot of people drink all the different hours. How are you going to enforce it?
If we catch people in Beavers Park, we will enforce, yeah. But are you asking if that's on our patrol area? I can certainly check, and if not, we can add it.
Hello, my name is Shafiq. Oh, that's better. Yeah, my name is Shafiq. I'm a resident of Cranford, and I also am a very active member of Cranford Action Group, which I'm glad to see you nodding, so therefore that makes it easy for me. Yes, I'm mainly here to speak on, well, not really speak, but to say one or two things on behalf of CAG. Your nodding of your head tells me we are very well positioned on your system, on your book. Umme Khanzadi is the person who is actually is taking the lead on that. Now, only yesterday we had our own meeting, and it was reported as to how many cans, empty cans of beers, and also empty bottles were being picked up on the parks. Now, I can see you got your PSOP, yep. Which is supposed to that system is supposed to make the antisocial behavior, if I understand you properly, bring some rectification to it. But from our observation, unfortunately, this is not the case. We've been left to pick up the pieces, and there we are. So we can only hope. And also, a little village of Cranford to have 3 betting shops within, what, a few yards of each other is atrocious. Thank you very much indeed.
Thank you. I'll answer the comment about the enforcement, then and you can comment on the gambling. So I was nodding because I know Cranford Action Group were extremely active in giving us a lot of the information and the data that contributed to the map, and Andrew can give a little bit more information about that. I suppose the issue of street drinking is a very complex one and won't be solved by enforcement alone. This is one piece of the puzzle. There's a lot that is done by colleagues in public health, by our colleagues in the police. You know, some people will be swayed by doing what they're doing, by being issued a fixed penalty notice or by being prosecuted, but that's not the be-all and only, you know, tool that the council uses to try and target street drinking. So it is one tool. Obviously, the cumulative impact assessment is another tool, looking at licensing conditions, working with licensed premises to make sure they don't sell high-strength cans, they don't sell single cans. You know, it's a big, big picture. And the public space protection order and the enforcement of that is one piece of a bigger jigsaw. We're not going to solve street drinking just by issuing on-the-spot fixed penalty notices alone. It's part of it's part of the issue. But I would, just like to extend my thanks for all the work that Cranford Action Group have done in helping us get this piece of legislation, well, being consulted on anyway. And in terms of gambling.
Okay. So just to obviously reiterate what Lorien has said there, obviously there are, the cumulative impact is what it says. It is about cumulative impact of premises within an area and that causing a negative effect on the 4 licensing objectives. And that is why, obviously, with the area that we're looking at, it has to be where a potential proposed licenses may come up in that regards, and that's why Lorraine's up with us, because there are other tools. Obviously, there are the PSPO. There's other things as well that we can look at with regards to that. With regards to the gambling premises, the legislation that's in place is again on an aim to permit. So there's 3 objectives under the Gambling Act 2005 that we can obviously have objections come in on. What we can do is, obviously, if there are issues that you're facing with gambling premises, do email into the licensing team. Our licensing enforcement officers can obviously look at that and see what's happening. We can work again with our colleagues in the council to be able to gain a picture and an idea. But obviously, that intel, that information from yourselves, the issues that may be being faced if we receive that, then we can be able to look at that, act on it accordingly.
Thank you. And I've got Councillor Vikram Garewal.
Thank you, Honey. Thanks for the power for the mic. So yes, Shafiq is not just a member of Cranford Action Group. He's actually the gem of Cranford Action Group, wherever he is. But on Avenue Park, he's absolutely right. I attended a Cranford Action Group executive meeting yesterday. These volunteers, these shining stars of the borough, are collecting between 10 to 15 bags on a weekly basis of alcohol bottles, cans, that are all shoved in the bushes. I appreciate, this is a problem across the borough. So my wider question is, do you use the CCTV infrastructure as an enforcement tool? Because we can have as many bobbies on the beat as possible, and enforcement officers in their vehicles, obviously not turned on for the environment's sake, but ready to go and prosecute people. But do we use our CCTV infrastructure? And secondly, if we do, what's our prosecution rate, or how many fixed penalty notices have we actually issued based off the back of that? And apologies, the second leg is a bit difficult to answer, but that would be great to know.
Off the top of my head, I don't know in terms of fixed penalties using CCTV, but we get a lot. We generate a lot, particularly for litter and fly tipping offences. So yes, we absolutely do utilise that. And the council does have a number of redeployable cameras. So we've obviously got fixed cameras in certain locations, but we have got some that are redeployable, and we can move them across the borough depending on issues such as fly tipping, antisocial behaviour, etc., etc. So if we can have a separate conversation outside of this, definitely. I think also be interested to learn more about the premises. As I said, the PSPO is sort of enforcing after the issue's already happening. So if we can work with those licensed premises to improve their license conditions so they don't sell these high strength cans. I'm sure you've all seen the sort of plastic cups that they're selling, which means they're selling shots and all the rest of it. So there's a lot that we can do to try and tackle it at the source, because almost once the drink's been sold and people are street drinking, we're almost losing the battle. We can only clear up afterwards. So if we can have a conversation afterwards and find out those locations, it's all part of the jigsaw, isn't it, to try and tackle street drinking. Thank you.
The really tall guy at the back, I've forgotten your name, I do apologise,
That's
sorry.
okay. I'm Michael. I'm a member
Michael,
of Heston
hi.
Action Group.
Yes.
I'd like to thank Andrew and Lorraine for the work you've done. I had maybe 2 questions. One was, how long do you think we will need to be part of a cumulative impact area before we can start to see real change on the ground? And the second point is one which this gentleman from CAG mentioned. As a volunteer collecting rubbish on our streets on a regular basis, I see that there is a direct correlation between betting offices and detritus on our streets. We've all observed people with cans and plastic cups walking in and out of betting offices, treating them almost like street bars, and large number of cigarette butts strewn all over the streets. I'm just wondering what more can be done to actually target those businesses like Ladbrokes and Paddy Power and Betfred, who are working in areas of poverty and, in my personal opinion, victimizing poor people. And what can be done at local authority level to really get the message across to these businesses that they need to act in a responsible manner in the communities that they're making money from. That's it.
Sorry. Sorry, Chair.
So, sorry to interrupt the answer there. Normal service will be resumed in a month. There's a car blocking the exit and somebody wants to get out and can't. It's a Skoda LO72 RVT. So if anyone knows any, if anyone knows any good employment agencies, speak to me afterwards, please. Sorry.
Sorry, you can carry on.
Hi, Mark. I'll take the second part of the question, which is obviously around the betting shops and where we are. So obviously, as I've said before, under the Gambling Act, the aim is to permit. In 2022, we introduced a local area plan, and that plan obviously highlights potential areas of gambling vulnerability based on a number of different factors, and obviously the associated risk factor score to go with that. So that has introduced that, and obviously we're looking at that. The key thing is obviously for any new premises that are open, there is a potential to put in a representation. We do consult on those. Obviously, it needs to be in line with the 3 licensing objectives and the like, similar to Licensing Act, where it's the 4 licensing objectives. If you, again, as I say, if there are issues being faced with the premises themselves, they will have their own local risk assessments. They should be, constantly looking at those and reviewing those and making sure that it's fit. If there are issues outside of that, do report it to licensing. We did last year undertake inspections into I think all of our betting shops across the borough, looking at their risk assessments and the relevant information under the Gambling Commission's spreadsheet checklist that we have to look at for inspection. But like I say, if there is any other things, please do send them through to us at licensing, and we can have a look at those. We can assess them and obviously take appropriate action if we need to on it.
Yeah.
We have a very low level of engagement in this community. If people are not, I think it's so endemic that people have almost given up hope. I think we need to do more than just hope that the people who are walking our streets actually know what they need to do to report something. Is it possible to report something like that via Fix My Street? Because it's something it's an app that people can have on their phone, and if they can actually make a complaint like that rather than having to email licensing at hounslow.gov.uk.
I would personally, I'd have to look into that and see how that would work and the logistics of them recognising that wasn't something that was part of maybe what Fix My Street was originally used for, and how that would link in with us. So I can't say how that would work at the moment. What I can say is obviously with regards to just the residents, obviously we're currently setting up a program of doing some inspections, and we hope to do again another round of inspections at our betting shops, hopefully all completed maybe before June, but obviously throughout the year we'll be looking at doing some inspections. And we're actually looking, we've got some, we're working with some partners here to be able to understand and look at just some of the things that may not even just be on the pro forma, but other things that we can be looking at or investigating while we're out as well. So to make sure that all the officers are fully aware of all the things that need to be done, and obviously anything else that can be picked up while they're out as well.
Okay, if I can just add to that as well, Michael, if you've got the individual names of those gambling premises where people are coming out and dropping cigarette butts, I'd be very interested if you could send them across. But I think just on that, I also manage the Council's Kingdom contract, which I don't want to get into now because I appreciate it's quite an emotive topic, but we have utilised them to target public premises, pubs, for example, not in this area in the east of the borough, where we know patrons stand outside and they drop cigarette butts. And we've then received complaints from the businesses via elected members that we're scaring off the patrons. So I think because this is such a huge issue, we all need to work together and take a stance that actually, well, that's the point. You have to take responsibility, because we do enforcement, and then we get complaints because we're scaring off the patrons of the pubs. So I think collectively we agree it's a huge issue and we need to take that stance. But send me those details as well.
And make it easier for people to report, maybe by something like an established app like Fix My Street. I think it would go a long way to making it easier for the public to report something. It's a couple of taps on an app, and you can attach a photograph as well, which would be a good evidence base for you as well.
Definitely. Sabir was doing that earlier, so I wouldn't say it's impossible, but it doesn't look like it's going to happen overnight. I'll take that as a good thing.
But that's definitely a good idea, like an app, like Fix My Street. It would just make it easy. I think I've got Sati next. Is there Sati?
Just in regards to what you were saying about the litter, also, is there any connection with the lack of bins or the lack of bins being emptied in the areas? Because I think that's the thing I see around Heston as well, that bins are often quite full and not being emptied, which then obviously what people are going to do, put it on the floor.
Again, that's not something I can answer within my remit, but let me find out the information and get back to you.
But I'd just like to say that we did install quite a few bins, and so it kind of like worked against, because a lot of people started fly tipping around the bins. So I feel like that maybe it was a good idea, but it was a bad idea as well, because now what we find are people are just dumping loads of carrier bags with rubbish. So Jasmine?
Hi, I'm from Heston Action Group, and I just want to pick up on Michael's point actually earlier. I'm really happy that Heston and Cranford are now in that policy, or Cranford's being considered. But this is our one opportunity to get this problem sorted, I think, because I think without these groups, these community groups, a lot of people don't know about the cumulative impact policy. So now that if we are both under it, it would really help to have some clear information. I know you're going to give information about, who to contact if we do see street drinkers, but then what does the wider community do? Because not everybody attends this meeting. So if that information was really clear, either in an app or if it was on a website somewhere, we could then disseminate that information to the residents and then get that, working so that, we can report it to enforcement quickly. I don't know what the current process is, but what I've done in the past is just phoned, I think it's 111, the police number, and then just reported it that way. Is that the correct way to do it at the moment? Or
that is a way. The police do take action on it as well, right. So we can encourage people to do that. But I completely take your point, and we'll improve the communication and update our web pages, because I agree we need to get as many people aware.
Okay, I've got the last one, just the lady in front.
Going back to the bin factor, I've noticed this so much. A lot of money has been spent on the bins within the borough. I feel they're the wrong kind. I think you have to have more open-topped, more umbrella-shaped, enough to get large packages in, because that's why people tie little things up. They're not going to... the ones we've got encourage recycling. Enough holes for a bottle and a carton. People don't behave in that way. They wrap it up in a plastic bag and leave it by the bin. So I think we've got to question the type of bin we put in the borough. It's got to enable people to put in more, not just one bottle.
So, did someone want to come in from waste or recycling on that, or we can provide the feedback?
Hello, my name is Sabil. I'm head of Highways PFI. I look after the Hounslow Highways contract. I've got a couple of colleagues here from waste recycling as well. Like Councillor Atwell said, the street bins are not there to take domestic waste. Domestic waste, every resident in the borough and in Heston and Cranford have at least one, if not more, wheelie bins, and have got a recycling carton for different types of material. Yep. If people need to dispose of those items from their house, those are the containers to use. If it's too big for the containers, there are multiple ways to get rid of waste. You can book a bulky waste collection, you can take it to Spaceway. Sometimes I know that's difficult. Their booking system works fantastically well. I use it, I'm a resident of the borough as well. The street bins aren't designed to take like Councillor said, domestic waste from someone's kitchen wrapped up in a plastic bag. When people take it to the bus stop or to the tube station, they want to try to do it. They think they're trying to do the right thing because they're putting it in a bin. But then that bin gets full quicker, and people with legitimate on-the-go litter, like a pack of crisps or a can of Coca-Cola, they can't put it in because it's overflowing already because someone's tried to jam in a plastic bag.
I'm not talking about planting, I'm talking about street litter.
Okay.
So if people have a picnic on the go, and they're not going to put individual.
Sure. So, fine. So in the parks, don't know whether we've got any parks. There's multiple types of bins, with open tops as well, so they can like I said, have a legitimate picnic, collect all their litter, put it in there. On the street, there are two types of bins. There's one called the Double Olympic, which is a big one, 2 bins effectively with the slots, and the slot can take a pizza box and various other things. And then there's another one called, remind me, Gladstone, I think it's called, which has got a bigger aperture. And that's where you can get, like I said, legitimate on-the-go litter into our bins.
So they need to be protected, but they can be, because we do have occasions and instances where litter bins are set on fire. So we have to look at where we're putting these litter bins, what the purpose is for them, and the ones that we've put out around Hounslow Borough are in consultation with the council, and it's the most appropriate type of litter bin to be on a street. And generally they're for street litter, on-the-go litter.
Okay, is that okay? Just got the last one, Councillor Mann, and then we're going to move on.
Sorry, Chair, I won't prolong the issue. It's just to actually add to what Shabil has said. I was actually the head of that department when we brought in the recycling, and the idea was to change people's behavior. Sad to hear that people are still persisting in putting plastic bags and trying to stuff them into these bins, because these bins were specifically designed so that we can enhance recycling. If that's not happening, then I think the leader who's here, we need to go back to our message and revisit that message and how we can get that across. Because the idea was that a lot of these bins were removed because they were a magnet for fly tips. And if I just give you an example, Crosslands Avenue, the shops, that was always a problem. The bin next to the Shell petrol pump, that was always a problem. And I'm sure other ward council will know all the areas where they've got particular problems. So to alleviate the problem, we actually lifted all those bins. But we haven't been able to tackle the main crux of the problem, which is that our residents seem to think it's okay to take their domestic waste or any other waste and try to shove it down some of these street bins. And I speak particularly just across the road on the shops. All those bins are always full. And this problem needs to be tackled, and I think the message needs to be revisited. And I hope the leader takes that on board, and I'm sure I will drop an email to Guy to let him know of some of the problems that this group and this area forum is putting forward. Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Councillor, that's great. So we're going to move on to the next item on the agenda. Heston in the loop, we've got somebody giving us a presentation on that. Thanks.
Good evening. Thank you to the Chair and the councillors of Heston and Cranford for the invitation, and also thank you to the community for staying to listen to this presentation. So I hope that on the back of the last conversation around litter and behaviour, that this project will change behaviours in Heston and Cranford. So we're doing a project called Heston in the Loop, and it's a project designed to bring the community together. And when we talk about the community, it is residents, it's businesses, it's the community groups, it's schools, it's faith groups, it's absolutely everybody in the community. So it's not just focused at residents. Apologies, technical difficulties. Right, so this project is more than just about recycling. We know that our residents are doing all that they can to separate out recyclable items from their waste. What we want to see in our communities is a real change in how people deal with waste and actually reduce it. And this project is the first of its kind in Hounslow Borough. We've chosen Heston and the wider area, including parts of Cranford as well, to be that demonstrator. We're really proud to bring this project to Heston and to this community. So we've partnered with an organisation called Re-London, who work with lots of London boroughs around the capital in order to reduce waste and encourage people to think differently about how they consume. So the project that we're bringing to Heston is encouraging the community to waste less, reuse, repair, share and recycle more. Through circular economy interventions, which I'll come on to, we want to actually combat climate change, creating greater community cohesion, boosting the local economy, which is important, and encouraging our residents to shop locally and keep things in the Heston loop. So this is a summary of the project. We want our residents to save money. We want to help the community and we want to help the environment. So this is our project area. So hopefully you'll recognise it. And this community hall is very much part of this project group. But like I said, it's not just about Heston. Whilst we'll put most of our interventions into this area, we'll also encourage activities to take place in other parts of Heston. So we want to work with the schools, and one of the projects aimed at schools is to create refill shops. So instead of buying items with all the packaging, we'll encourage refill. We want to work on the larger estates to create community gardens and community groups. And we want to work in our Heston Leisure Centre and in our Heston Park, bringing activities like workshops, repair shops, swap shops, anything where we can reduce the waste. The main material focus, and we'll cover everything, but broadly it's around textiles, plastic, so reducing our plastic consumption, introducing repair shops for electronics, including laptops and toasters and kettles. We want to encourage greater use of the built environment, and we'll be introducing some water refill points so people don't buy those single-use plastic bottles. And we want to really encourage community growing schemes and composting, sharing food, and making sure that food doesn't go to waste. We've joined up with these organisations already. Really happy Heston Action Group are right in there as well. And obviously we want to work with Cranford Action Group. You might recognise some of these. City to Sea is about refilling water bottles. Trade is a textiles reuse scheme, but they also offer training sessions on how to repair items. You don't need to throw them away. Cultivate London, a really useful organisation to help people introduce community growing, so people can grow their own vegetables, fruit, harvest it, take it home, cook it in the kitchen, share it with the community. Love Not Landfill is around textile recycling as well. And Too Good To Go is an app, and it's designed for shops predominantly to share their produce at the end of the day that they haven't been able to sell. So rather than throwing it away, they'll introduce it on their app, and it allows the community to purchase those items very cheaply or often for free. So we're working to make sure that it's a real community-based project. So there'll be lots of interventions that are business to business, business to community, and making sure that everybody comes together. The main things are around using stuff wisely, using stuff again, making things well. We all know that things are often bought cheaply because that's the way people can afford it, but those items don't last very long. Renting items, not buying it. So, you know, if you just need a drill for one job in your house, don't go and buy it. Let's try and either hire it or share it within the community. And then obviously sharing is one of the things as well. We've also reached out, as I said, to businesses that already have established good circular economy embedded projects, and we're inviting them to come to Heston and share their knowledge with Heston businesses. So we did a call out, an open call out to businesses. We predominantly want to work with businesses already operating in Hounslow, but we have invited people from across London, and we had a really, really good show on this. We had 14 different companies come to work with us in Heston. So we'll have a little bit more information in the next few weeks on who we've selected from those applicants. So this is some of the branding that you'll start to see around Heston. And it's a really encouraging people to get involved. And my colleagues in the project team, Joe and Danny, over on the left, have some survey forms that you can fill in. We really want to hear from you about what you're interested in within the arena of circular economy. You can also fill in a survey online, and we'll take all that as well. So there's some leaflets. So if you don't do anything today, just take a leaflet away. There's a brand new website that was launched today that you can access all the information that you need. So these are some of the assets. Bringing new ways to the community to save money, hugely important at this time. Spending time in nature, really important as well, and we want to encourage people to grow their own foods and learn new gardening skills. And we're really excited to bring Cultivate London to an area at Sutton Playing Field with our HAG group, and we'll be doing training sessions on how to grow food correctly, and then also training sessions that you can go away and train other people. So this is about becoming a gardener, training for free. A lot of our interventions are free. It's massively important that people can join in at no expense to themselves. And also it's about family as well. So it's not just aimed at adults, there are children and there are family sessions as well. So we want to hear from you. As I said, Joe and Danny have got some forms that you can fill in to express your interest, but please visit the website as well for more information. And here you go. So this is our new website that was launched today. Needs a few tweaks, and it will be live, and it will be updated regularly. So don't just visit it once, visit it all the time. So that's it. Heston in the loop.
Amazing. That's really good. That sounds really good, guys. So anybody wants any information, there is a stand there. Please feel free to go along. And when you were talking about recycling, I was laughing at my mother sitting at the back because she gets a bit confused. Maybe she needs a few lessons. Okay, so we're going to move on to the next item. Sea Change West London. We've once again got the last presentation on that. If you guys would like to come forward. Thanks.
And then when it comes to the film, I think that's 4 minutes. It's a video, you have to play a trailer. I didn't know there was one in it. Oh, yeah, it's Matt. Is it off the internet? No, he downloaded it. I think yeah, but he didn't have time to download it. We couldn't put it on the computer. Yeah, it's on the internet. Is it Skype? No, it was meant to be like, we can't do it. Sorry. Hello everybody, good evening. Hope you're having a good time this evening. It's been very, very informative, very nice to see you. I am Taz and I'm joined by...
Hi, I'm Esther.
And...
I'm Corbin Maris.
Thank you very much. And we are Sea Change West London, and I'll pass on to Esther who will explain a little bit more about who we are.
Lovely. Oh, it's brilliant to see so many people here. It's my pleasure to introduce Sea Change West London. So just a little bit about our story. Sea Change West London is essentially the legacy charity organisation for Heston West Big Local, which some of you may be familiar with. We've been working in the community for over 12 years as Heston West Big Local, but Sea Change West London was formed very recently in 2021, and we started work in September 2022. Our programmes are developed with the active involvement of residents and young people within the London boroughs of Hounslow, Hillingdon, Ealing and Spelthorne Borough Council. Our organisation was developed by residents engaged with our Big Local programme, and that included volunteers, participants working with young people, families, adults, the elderly, to help shape our vision and our direction. So essentially an organisation built with the community for the community. Our community activities and events are designed to promote health and well-being and social inclusion by bringing diverse and intergenerational communities together. Our vision is to build a strong, vibrant and resilient community where all individuals can thrive. And we do that through our mission by improving skills, well-being and life chances of the socially and economically disadvantaged. Our values are to empower, again, to give that opportunity to people in the community to make decisions and take part in activities that will improve their own lives. To act with integrity so that you can trust that we will do the right thing. To listen and to learn, again, in combination with everyone in the community, and to be responsive to the information that we find out. I'll now hand back over to Taz, and he can tell you a bit about some of the activities that we do.
So thank you very much, Esther. So one of the first things that we've been doing, sort of working, as we said, for the last 10 to 12 years is Heston West Big Local, so some of you may be sort of familiar with the work. And so it started off life as Big Local, and it still runs, doing some volunteering days, events, and activities for all the community. We try always our best to engage everybody. But the most important thing is working collaboratively. So there's other groups in here that we've worked in partnership with, doing that clean-up days with Heston Action Group, for example, and other groups as well, like Creative Spaces at the back there, sort of working on summer schools. So yeah, our program's been running for a long time, and Sea Change was, as Esther said, sort of developed through that. So we work on a number of programs. We also do a youth social action, which is funded by the Mayor of London's office. So again, sort of encouraging young people to get involved with active volunteering, going into schools to encourage that. We also have done a recent one, Warm Spaces, which is now carrying on, which is sort of developing a program engaging adults in creative activities at the same time so that their children, grandchildren or other members of family can get involved with our multi-sports that we also run, and it has been given that the NHS will be continually helping us sort of fund that activity going forward. We also recently started, we're going to start a youth filmmaking program. So again, like offering opportunities in this part of the borough for younger people to get involved with more creative activities. I think today we've heard a lot of exciting things about helping and supporting the environment, which is absolutely amazing, but then providing also more opportunities in the creative world. And filmmaking is something which, our area, Hounslow Borough, does have a heritage of it. If we go back, a lot of great films were made in our borough. So it's about bringing those opportunities back into our area and making it easier for younger people, breaking through those barriers. Because I think sometimes it's very expensive to go to film school, very expensive to get involved with filmmaking. So the idea is to make it simpler and easier for younger people to access. What else? Is it moving? Not seem to be working. Oh, there you go. Oh yeah. So we also do a community cooking club. So before the pandemic, we used to run it here in Cranford, in Heston. But now that we've linked up with Chiswick House and Gardens, and the idea is to encourage residents living in this area to explore other parts of the borough, as Hounslow is very diverse, beautiful, and opportunities to expand your horizons. And working with Chiswick House and Gardens, that we're restarting our community cooking club on a weekday, so encouraging adults, encouraging those who have physical and learning difficulties, and also those who work shift patterns, who are unable to get involved on weekends or evenings, to come along. And we provide free transport from the Brabazon Community Centre. So again, in making it easier, removing as many barriers as possible to go and have some, fun and learn cooking, or even just to socialise. And that programme resumes very shortly in April. And in a moment, we'll talk about the community garden and cafe. So we are looking at sort of developing a garden and cafe here in Cranford, and more details of that will follow very shortly during the presentation. I will now pass on to, sorry? It is, yeah. Okay, great. Well, in a moment, I'm going to hand over to Corbett, who's a young lad from Cranford, and who will talk about how he created his first ever feature film, which we got some funding from the Mayor's office. So I'm going to pass you on to Corbett Maras.
Hello, everyone. I hope you're having a lively evening, as I can see in front of me right now. I'm Corbett Maris. I'm the writer-director of Between Us, which is a romantic anthology feature film. So it consists of 3 separate love stories that are interlinked with each other. One of my main reasons for writing and directing this film is because, quite frankly, there's not many opportunities out there in the area, and that's not because of the area's fault. I just don't think people in the industry are looking hard enough, in my opinion. So I felt, with Taz's support on this one, I could make this happen. And what I did was, I wrote the first story and I handed it to Taz, and I told him, wait, there are 2 more stories. So he gave me time, I wrote those two stories, and we ultimately created the film. So the first story is about a couple who have an unresolved past and are trying to deal with it on their staycation. That's not the trailer, I can assure you that. The second story is between 2 friends who have a complicated confession. And the final story is between 2 strangers who have a chance encounter in the park. So it's been quite a challenging project to make, because it's been a year of my life so far, and that's the longest I've spent on a project. And I can confirm that at last night I have finished the film. So the film is up and ready to go. As you can, I don't know if you can tell in the back, but I have dark circles, so I'm very tired from spending countless hours up in the morning since 2 or 3 a.m. working on the film. But it's been there, and I'd like to thank everyone involved, such as Chiswick House and Gardens, which is where all of the third story takes place, so I thank them for the support. And I thank Taz here a lot as well, because if it weren't for him, who, you know, he wouldn't have given me the opportunity, for example, for someone like me. So I'd like to thank him a lot for that. And, you know, if we're able to get the trailer up properly, then I guess you can enjoy it. So thank you very much. Thank you.
Hey, you okay? Sorry, I missed your call.
Yeah, I'm okay. I'm fine. Are you okay? Okay. Well, we were trying to sort out a trailer, but maybe what we will do is I might email the link across maybe, and if you guys maybe can catch it. But it's called Between Us, and I think sort of one thing you can see it maybe behind me, but so one thing important that it was sort of getting Cool Bear's journey started off as participating as a volunteer at Walking Football that we kicked off in 2016, which was intergenerational. And then through there, he got involved in volunteering, went to university, studied at Warwick Uni, came back, and now he runs our youth filmmaking club. So a young person from Cranford, you know, who had a passion for filmmaking, now has an opportunity to lead it as well, so inspiring the next generation. And I think that's what we're trying to do. The other work on the film club that we have done is to help document other charities and other community groups, the great work that they're doing, because as we noted earlier, Heston and Cranford is a very special area with lots of active and engaging people who want to make a great difference. And sometimes the hardest thing is how do you promote that? How do you tell people and share your story? And we all know that film is a great way to do that. So again, like with our new filmmaking project starting soon, which have been getting support from the council, we'll be able to get young people out and about into the community to tell your stories, to see how we can improve, how we can change lives. But most more important that we are here, got an opportunity, and I think we need to take it and encourage people to all feel involved, whether a young person or an older person or a middle-aged person. It doesn't really matter, does it really? So it's making it all very inclusive. So yeah, you can see behind me, unfortunately the sound is not working, but I think it's okay. But if you go into our website, which is on the big local one, which is hestonwest.org, or the YouTube, just go to YouTube and write down Heston West Big Local. You'll see videos from the things that we've done since 2016, I think, from there onwards, and the trailers on there as well. So if you get an opportunity, do watch it, and we'd love to have your feedback. Yes, we can go to the next slide. Thank you very much. No worries. So it's only one more slide, I think, or something. So it's not many more slides. So I won't bore you anymore. Yeah. Okay. Oh yeah, so the community garden and cafe. So before the pandemic, that we did some sort of consultation with some of our volunteers and participants and some residents in the area. And one of the things that people would like to see is a garden and a cafe. And this was done pre-pandemic. So we started thinking about it, working hard, and we put together a plan to make a community garden in Cranford. In order, so located by the Cranford Community College, which is a little space there, to make it a small oasis or beautiful land, to get people to come out and encourage. And I think our area, as we all know, needs more of these beautiful gardens, and Heston Action Group are doing a fantastic job in Sutton Field as well. So again, it's making the area more accessible, get people out and about. Where we are at the moment, is just on final planning or planning stage. So we're sort of fingers crossed that will go through, and then we can sort of kick off that project. So as soon as that's sort of gone through, that we'll put the news out there so people can maybe get involved and support that program. So about getting involved. So there are lots of things that we do. I mean, under the big local program, and on Tuesdays at Brabazon Centre, we run Art Social Club. Again, sort of working with people from all backgrounds, and that's on Tuesday mornings. All the details of our activities can be found on our website. And we always want more people to come along, more people to learn about us, more people to find out. And because our community is an ever-evolving community, things are always changing, and people are coming and going, but some people we want to see more of you guys get involved, but our job is to get our word out there, which is always a bit tricky. So hopefully through film and through out and about and working collaboratively with other groups that we can do that. So the more details are on our website here. It's quite tiny, so I don't know if this can be circulated, but just Google it, I guess. You sort of Google Sea Change West London or Heston West Big Local. And but I would really encourage you to go to our YouTube channel and watch some of our music videos, because I think you might find them quite fun. I think that's it from Heston. Yeah, from us. Thank you very much. Thank you very much.
Great. Jasmine, did you want to say something? Just one question.
I just want to say thank you to Taz and his group for that.
Yeah.
I think I've been attending these meetings for about 10 years, and this is the first time I've actually felt truly inspired by everything. And I think the councillors, they should take this opportunity to really turbocharge the community's effort, because you can see you've got some really good community groups in this area all working together to actually make some really good change. And so I request you all to sort of jump on that bandwagon, please.
Matthew, do you still have some food outside, or is it all finished?
It's all gone, I'm afraid.
Oh, okay, sorry, guys. Okay, we're going to move on to the next item on the agenda. We have a Heston Action Group for the Treehouse. Yes.
Evening, everyone. My name is Navdeep Diol, and I'm from Heston Action Group. Delighted to be here tonight, and it's amazing to see how many people have turned out. Councillors, members of the public, HAG volunteers, our sister groups, Cranford Action Group, Sea Change, members of the council, Cranford Action Group, everyone here. It's just fantastic to have you all in the same place. How on earth do I follow Taz and Sea Change? It's quite something, but the big question I had, but I couldn't ask it, is when's the premiere? Cool bit, and I hope it's in Heston. We will big it up. We'll make sure we're there in force. Yeah. Brilliant. Well, I'm going to talk to you a bit about a new project we've just started. But before I do, there's two things I wanted to cover, which is really what is HAG, Heston Action Group. Some of you have heard the name. Some of you volunteer with us. But some of you are new faces here, so you may not know that much about us. We've been around for 5 years. We're a community group based just here in Heston. We started off litter picking. That was our real focus. But we've slowly grown into doing more environmental activity. Tree planting, community gardening, wildflower planting, and trying to deal with some of the environmental challenges we face. HAG stands for Heston Action Group. People call us the HAGs. They call our children volunteers Haglets, and it's quite an exciting group. And we have a website, and all the details over there with Phil and Anil, if you're interested. And then a bit about Heston as well, because a lot of us in HAG have lived in Heston for a while, and I'm sure many of you have as well. And you might remember Heston and why you moved to Heston, but it was just full of beautiful gardens and full of fruit trees and orchards, and it was a very lush place to live. And it still is lush in many respects, but it's lost a lot of its environmental infrastructure over the years. So as a result of that, our group is set up to try and reverse that and change that in a positive way. We run a community garden. I'll just make one quick mention of that. Just down the road, Sutton Playing Fields. We're there every Sunday, 10 to 1. And we try and engage as much of the community as possible from all walks of life, disabilities, age, everyone there, just to try and plant vegetables, meet friends, help with our tree planting projects. We've got water collected off roofs of the neighbours who surround Sutton Playing Fields, so it's a very community-orientated place. and you're all welcome there on Sundays. I'm going to introduce the West London Tree Hub. It's a new project which has just been around for a month. It's supported by the London Mayor, so we're very excited about it. And there are some partner organisations in there as well. So BA has offered match funding as well, which is fantastic. The London Borough of Hounslow has been incredible at supporting this project, writing letters for us and really working hard to get the project on the road. Hounslow Highways have been absolutely amazing. They got ahead of themselves and started planting trees before the project was even launched, and started depaving. It's a word that's not used commonly in London. It's a hard word to use for most local authorities. But we've got depaving on Summerhouse Avenue, and that is fantastic. So it's a real achievement. London Gardens Network have helped us a great deal with advice and support. Freshwater Foundation have given us money for trees. And we are part of London National Park City, which I'll mention in a moment, and they're obviously sponsoring this project as well. But it's not just about the fun of tree planting. There's a much more serious message. If I can go, there we go. So we've got the climate emergency, and it's getting worse, and the problems are getting worse. You'll have noticed from last year how dry and how hot it was over summer. It's going to be the same this year, they're predicting. All of the water that would have gone down into garden lawns is now just washing out on the streets into the storm drains, and we are suffering a great deal from climate emergency. We're not obviously suffering as bad as some parts of the world where they're feeling the brunt of the climate crisis. But Hounslow Council itself has recognised from 2019 a climate emergency. It was declared by Hounslow Council. There was a motion in 2019 as well to support the government's amendments to the 2008 Climate Change Act. And the Climate Emergency Plan, which is available on the Hounslow website, sets out a target not just for Hounslow Council, but also a borough-wide reduction in carbon emissions. And part of that has to be tree planting. Yep. And in 2019 as well, Sadiq Khan declared London to be a national park city, which is a great movement. It's about making London greener, wilder, and connecting people to nature. It's really positive. You can check out the website. But it's not just about the positive nature of it. It's about the urgent message that we need to do something in cities in order to make a change on the climate change front. At the launch event of the London National Park City, we've got a map here of London National Park City, which shows all the green spaces and blue spaces. Heston Action Group were very privileged to be invited to speak at City Hall with Sadiq Khan to the mayors of 45 cities. And that was a real privilege that from Heston, from here, we were able to go to City Hall and represent this community. Just whizzing through the other slides. So we love tree planting. We're tree huggers, so and we're quite obsessed with it. And if you come to Sutton Playing Fields, you'll see that not only have we got a fantastic community garden with a food forest, and Mara's here can tell you about food forests later on, but a forest which involves different types of plants and trees and bushes which all complement each other. We have that within the community garden. We have a fantastic olive tree that was donated from a resident in Chiswick. We have 20 cherry trees that were donated by Abundance London, who are based in Chiswick as well. We have, I think, almost 600 saplings that we planted out in Sutton Playing Fields, which was otherwise a empty piece of parkland with a lot of drug abuse around the corners and the sides, and we've now turned that into a park with probably over 800 trees in total, which in turn will attract wildlife and support the ecosystem within the local community and clean the air. And these are just some of the pictures of our tree planting events, which we do from time to time. And the one here at the bottom with the Mayor of Hounslow and the Lord Lieutenant from Buckingham Palace, where we planted an oak from Her Majesty the Queen as part of the Queen's Canopy project last year. And we were very privileged to take part in that project. Our mini forests, if you go to Sutton Playing Fields, you'll see there's I think 8 mini forests there. Again, with the support of Hounslow Parks Department, we've been able to get those mini forests up and running. But it's not just in the community garden. We also have street tree champions. And in the summer months, we take water, quite often the water that we've collected from people's roofs, and we go and plant street trees so they have a chance of survival. And obviously, the drier it is, the more they need water. You can see you might recognise some of our volunteers here. We've got Michael there. We've got a couple of volunteers, Seamus, all taking water bottles from the community garden in wheelbarrows and watering street trees on our streets. And that's been happening for several years over summer. So if you see us walking around with milk bottles, we're not aliens. We are there to look after the tree stock. So those are our street tree champions. We have Joy T here as well, who's agreed to look after, is she still here? Oh, there she is, yeah. Who's agreed to look after some of the new trees on Summerhouse Avenue that Hounslow Highways have planted. And it's fantastic. You know, it's a fantastic achievement. So this is just, you're not going to read this all, but these are our social media posts related to tree planting. And this is just some of them, so we couldn't fit them all on one page. But we do a lot of tree planting. We do a lot of green activity. We share the story. We spread it out wide. We make sure people know what we're doing. And as a result of that, we got some attention, and we spoke to the London Mayor's Department, and we talked about setting up a tree hub. And the tree hub is, why have a tree hub? Well, we love trees, we love planting trees, but trees are incredibly important, not just because they look nice and not just because they clean the air. And here are a few examples of what they do. They keep us cool, they provide shade, they protect us from flooding because they deal with water table issues. They help with biodiversity, and they support, for instance, birds. You have streets without any trees, without any birds, and without any insects. So it supports the biodiversity narrative, not just the climate change narrative. It also makes people feel happier about where they live. So it supports the mental health agenda. It makes properties more valuable, strangely enough. It makes people feel happier about the environment they're in. So we want to have a tree hub. We want to create a centre for trees. What does that mean? Well, tree canopy cover is an issue right across the world, but obviously we're focusing in London, West London. You might recognise these areas. I deliberately haven't put names on them, but that's a tree canopy cover in Heston at the moment, and this is further east in the borough. And this is all mapped by a fantastic organisation called Green Talk, and they map where we plant trees, and you can go on the website, you can click on the tree, it'll tell you what type of tree it is. Quite often when it was planted, it will have a tree champion associated to it who can get reminded to water it from time to time by text message. And they amend this website from time to time. So you'll see Sutton playing fields just there. Our trees that we've planted there will soon start showing there as they turn from saplings into trees. But we want to get tree cover that looks a bit more like this. So as you walk down the street, you see trees on both sides of the road, protecting the residents from the harsh summers and providing clean air and helping with water runoff. So that's what we're trying to deal with. This is a sort of summary of our overall project. So it falls under these headings. And I just wanted to briefly say, why did we call it West London Tree Hub and not Heston Tree Hub? Because I get asked that question more often than not. And that's because we've always, the Heston Action Group has always operated without boundaries. We've done litter picks in 8 London boroughs. So we will work outside of Hounslow just to show our support for the wider cause. We wanted this tree hub to connect to Sea Change and the work they're doing in all of the different boroughs that they're doing. And we wanted this to connect with other groups in other boroughs where they need support. So this was not just about Heston, this was about West London. But the projects are very simple. So it's about depaving streets, and we've got target streets. Can you all hear me okay? Because I'm getting a lot of feedback. Yep, great. So it's about, there's some target streets, and as I said, Hounslow Highways have already sorted out Summerhouse Avenue rather embarrassingly before we'd put the application in, but well done. But we've got Springwell Road, Summerhouse Avenue, we're at target roads. We've got an area on Church Road, which is a depaving project to remove concrete and create a small mini garden with some trees and plants out in the open. We've got the corner of Great West Road and Vicarage Farm Road just at the end here. And we've also got a potential area which is along the Great West Road near Lambton Corner. So those are our sort of target areas. You may have seen, or if when you leave tonight, if you just turn right, you'll see we've got these little planters out with our plants that we put out last year. That's made from recycled wood. This is much bigger than this. We're going to create depaved areas and try and put some trees in and some plants in. The hub is going to be in the community garden. We're not sure whether it looks like that. It's subject to planning permission at the moment, but Harleen is helping us with that at the moment. But the hub is going to be a centre where we can run workshops for schools and for the community, and for speaking to the further learning guys here today, even for adults, about trees, the importance of trees, how to plant them, how to look after them. The trees, obviously, we're going to use the trees not just for the streets, but we're also going to create mini orchards, and we've got the food forest, which is being created in the community garden itself. We want to use the hub for education, so we're going to approach 3 Heston schools, and we're going to run workshops for those schools and track how those are progressed, involve those children in the planting season in October. And then the other big thing we're going to do is a front gardens campaign, and this is to encourage people to think progressively about their garden. We're not going to be able to persuade everyone to depave their gardens and replace it with what we had in the 1970s and 80s. But what we can do is say to residents, why don't you take up 1 tile and allow some wildflowers to grow? Why don't you put 1 bush in? And this is what the benefit will be of doing that for your neighbourhood, for the insects, for wildlife, for biodiversity, for the air around you, and for dealing with climate change. So we want to do an incremental change to get people to change behaviours, pretty much as Cindy was saying in relation to the recycling thing, small steps. There's a competition going on in Rotterdam at the moment where they've encouraged residents to lift 1 tile up of their front garden. And they've lifted 1 tile up and they thought, oh, that looks nice. And they thought, oh, I'll take up another tile. And now they're competing with each other to how many tiles they can take up. And it's out of control. So that's what we want. We want to see some of that happening without saying to people, no, you shouldn't really park your car in your driveway, because people do need to park their cars in their driveways. They do need to charge them. But we need a balanced approach. We can't just have concrete. So that's what we're trying to do. So there's a front garden campaign that we'll be running alongside. These are the areas that I just mentioned. So you can see we've highlighted some of the areas we're targeting. Summerhouse Avenue already done, but Springwell is our next target area. And then this is the big area over there by Church Road. These areas are all subject to consultation with Hounslow Highways and the London Borough of Hounslow, because we need to make sure it's viable and suitable. And if they're not, we'll find somewhere else. But those are the areas we've targeted for effectively showing what we can do. And then finally, what do we want to deliver? What's success for us? So we want to we want to deliver the key projects, which are these, our key projects, deliver those successfully in 12 months. We want to make a step towards dealing with the climate emergency issues and challenges in conjunction with the work that Cindy and Hounslow Council are doing on Heston in the Loop. We want to see more people coming along to the community garden and getting involved in events, and also participation with other community groups within Heston and beyond. We want to create a legacy for children in particular, so that they grow up learning about trees and the importance of trees, and they are responsible for rewilding and greening the community that they live in and sharing that with their parents. And this is, I was on the phone last night to my sister saying, how on earth do I put some wording under there? So I gave up. Basically, that is recording what we do. Because when we went to the London Mayor's office, they said, this is a fantastic project. Let's see how you get on. And success is always a challenge in these projects, particularly when we're all volunteers. Let's see how you get on, because we want to use your blueprint for other areas of London. And we're very proud that they've asked us to do that. So that's the project in short. I mean, what we, from this room here, if any of you are interested, please do come and speak to us, get involved, share the message, come to the community garden. We could do with loads of volunteers. Councillors, we're inevitably going to rely on you for your support to get this through and make, again, back to Jasmine's point, to supercharge the activities of the environment of the community in the area, so that Heston is on the map now. It's really on the map, but to make it really stand out as a beacon within Hounslow and beyond. And I'm the chair of London National Park City. I can tell you when I go to meetings, and those meetings are quite often international meetings, people are talking about Heston. And it's quite surreal, actually. They'll say, oh, it's great work you're doing there, Heston in the loop. It's amazing stuff that's being done. So it does really carry some weight. I just wanted to quickly finish off, I'm conscious of time, to thank everyone here for coming, but particular also Hounslow Council and Hounslow Highways. Tamina, I know, is here from Hounslow Highways. Sabil's been fantastic. We've got Joe and Danielle here who've been a real support in terms of getting the project off the ground. Sabil's been a real inspiration as well, and Taz has been an incredible supporter of the project from the beginning. So I'd like to particularly thank the volunteers of HAG as well, because they're here, some of them are here, and you do an amazing job. And also some of the councillors who have been supporting with this project. Harleen, I know, has had late night calls with me and planning department, which have been very interesting, but very informative as well. But I want to thank you all for your support with this project, and I hope we can look forward to rewilding Heston. That's what we want to try and do. So thank you.
Oh, that was amazing. Thank you. Guys, I've got an idea. Should we run a competition, remove a tile? Yeah, should we start tomorrow? Okay, we're going to move on to the open forum now. The open forum, so if anyone's... Okay, so I've got the lovely lady at the front with the white jumper on first.
Hi, my name's Jyoti, and I've noticed a lot of the shops have started taking over the pavement, especially like Sada Superstore and Aisha store. And I was amazed the Aisha store used to have an awning. Now they've actually got a permanent roof over that area. I'm wondering how planning has let them do that, and why do they, especially Sada Superstore Bath Road is so congested and people are so rude, they don't give you way. I've literally had to stop for a couple of minutes before I could go past the shop. So I'm wondering what's the regulation on all this?
Sabil, would you be able to say something on that, or shall I double check tomorrow and get back?
Slightly outside my remit, Councillor, but I can fill in a little bit. It becomes a licensing issue. Every store is allowed to put food and tables and chairs outside of their premises, but only to a certain point. And that's on the license that they're issued by the licensing team who were here earlier on. So I can write a note and then I'm going to ask them to check those two. So are they both on Bath Road?
Councillor West, I can get you the details from Jyoti.
If you don't mind,
and then I'll send you the details.
Give it to Councillor,
tomorrow.
and then Councillor can give it to me, or I'll tell the Councillor the right team to pass it on to.
Yeah, Bill just wants to say something.
Well, sorry, I'm not really involved in this, but I'm also clerk to the licensing panels. So as Andrew has now left, I can't really speak for him. I'm not a licensing officer, but that, as Sabil has said, it is a licensing matter. It's not the Licensing Act, it's London Local Authorities Act 1990 requires anyone putting any kind of goods display on the public highway to have a licence for doing that, and they must leave 1.8 metres clear for wheelchairs and buggies and so on. So if you know of any shops that aren't leaving 1.8 metres or 6 feet of pavement clear, definitely report that to the licensing team at Hounslow Council. And whilst there's an awful lot of shops in the borough and not many enforcement officers, they will get out and check. One, check they've got the licence, and two, even if they do have a licence, it won't allow them to block the pavement so that you can't get a wheelchair or buggy past. So they'll be going out. If they've got a licence, they're overstepping it. So please do report it. Thank you, Chair.
Yeah, tomorrow I'll double check those two stores and Sabil, did you want to say something, or are you okay? Okay, I've got the guy at the back there. Thanks.
Hello. After pandemic, we've been doing a lot of walking about, and people are now parking and driving on payments. Again, what is the council policy? I've been calling the enforcement, and they don't do anything. Springwell Road particularly, and then Westway the other day, going through the crossway, there's twice the guy is sitting in the car and parked it directly, properly on the pavement. You can't approach these guys because they give you such an abuse that I don't know what you can do, but it's getting really bad. And also while you're walking, people actually parking on the pavement, coming at a very high speed. So, you know, what's the question on that? Thank you.
Which ward do you live in?
I live in Shelley Crescent, but we walk through Springwell, through the Crossway, Westway, through Hounslow, and you know, looking at this street tag, I don't know what it is. It's a good application for walking, and I've been doing that since pandemic. People are just not listening to parking on the pavement, and people are not getting through with the wheelchair, push chairs, and everything. Okay, thank you.
Okay, I've got Brian at the back again.
Hello. I was shocked to see in Hounslow's social media feed earlier on in the week that TfL had announced a reduction in the frequency of the H32 service, which is one of the local buses. My question is, if we are trying to create a 15-minute environment and get local people to support our local communities, we're already in an area with a very, very low public transport access level, which is a PTAL scale. Parts of Heston are maybe only, some parts are at 0, others are at 5, and maybe others maybe very, very low down on the scale. I just don't understand where the consultation was with the local community about the reduction in the service, the bus service. And I'm wondering what our local councillors can do to try and open a dialogue with TfL to get it reinstated. Thank you.
Shantanu, would you like to come in? Thanks, sorry.
Yeah, thanks for the question. I did see the email. I think we are going to respond to it, but if you leave it with me, I will double check. There was a rationale. I can't remember what it was from the email. Apologies, I get so many. But leave it with me. You can take it as an action for next meeting.
Okay, was there another hand up? I've got a lady at the back. You're going to have to stand, yeah.
Hello, I'm Dahaba Ibrahim. I live local area here, Heston. I've been living in the borough for the last 17 years. I agree with the gentleman here. If you just go out right now, the cars are parked in the pavement, and we can't even do our shopping here around. And I don't know the cameras here in the Heston Road, they're fake, they're not working. And I don't know what the councillors are doing here. The second thing is I want to ask Taz, please can you help us with the leaflets of the activities, please? And you can have some leaflet, then you can put them on the resident so that we can know the timing and the exact place and time, please. Thank you for your engagement.
Okay, any other questions for the open forum? No, that's fine, thank you. So we're going to move. Sorry, is that the...
I second that an earlier speaker said about people being rude. They're not rude to speak to, but they seem to walk in lines of 4 or 5 across the pavement, and you know, they have no concept of somebody coming the other way. So perhaps something to say, please be considerate, and that applies in the buses as well. And on the roads, because I can't cross the road because there's either one, if you're looking one way, it's clear, they're coming the other way, so you can't get across. And I thought the DVLA had brought in a procedure which said pedestrians you need to stop for pedestrians. And this morning I saw somebody trying to reverse into the main road, which is another major DVLA no-no. But people are not, perhaps we should encourage people to look at the rules in the DVLA as well and be more considerate, really.
More considerate, yeah. Got another hand up there at the back.
Hi, can I just raise the issue? I think it's sort of related to the DVLA issue. It's the problem of cyclists in the area. I see so many of them without lights on. So as a driver, you can easily just knock them over. And I get so infuriated. I have to slow down to tell them that they could actually kill themselves, or I could kill them accidentally. And there's nothing. It seems to be sort of worse here for some reason. I don't see it happen so bad in other areas, but it's really bad here, and I don't know what can be done about it. I don't know whether councillors can push our MP to bring it up, because something needs to be done, because basically the driver is the responsible party, and we'll be kind of in trouble if we do.
Would we be able to speak to our MPs to implement something, Shantanu? Yeah, we should, yeah, because that's quite a good subject, yeah. Okay, I've got the lady at the front, thank you.
Whilst we're talking about safety on the roads, I've got a great concern about, and I suppose it's nationwide, scooters, illegal ones. I know it's difficult because you have to have changes in law, but that's also quite highly dangerous locally, I've noticed, in Isleworth as well. They're riding on pavements all over the place. People, they're not even asked to have a license. So you can't identify who they are if they cause a problem. We hear nationwide stories about people being injured. Locally, I'd like to see something happen, whether it's just advertising, whether it's, I know the police have got a lot to do, we've all got lots to do. Most of us are working jolly hard just to keep up with things. But I do think we need to do something far more rather than turn a blind eye. And there's also these in-betweenies between a scooter and a motorbike. Riding, and they're often delivery men.
Have you seen the delivery motorbike
Well,
drivers?
yes,
God,
they're riding,
literally in and out in the car.
They're riding across pavements. You just don't know where they're going to go next. And the last thing I want to raise, in the hope that something can be done, is at the top of Church Road, going into New Heston Road. I have written to the Transport Department of Hounslow, never had a reply, to be honest. There's a cycle lane by a lay-by in front of the parade of shops, constantly filled up with parked cars doing their shopping. It's an accident waiting to happen. And we've sent in a photograph of somebody on a cycle having to dodge around it. I've asked locally and not heard anything back. And there's nobody enforces it either. Please, please do something about these things.
Councillor Lal, would you be able to pick that up?
Chair, I do recall receiving some inquiries from residents regarding the parade on Heston Road, adjacent to the fish and chip shop. I think that's the parade that was there. So I'll dig up we did actually get an officer response out to the resident, but I'll dig it up and I'll pass it on to this lady once again.
There was meant to be a plan to put in a 30-minute waiting restriction, but it would be good to maybe get an
We'll chase it up.
Yeah, where that went.
No, definitely, yeah. I'll make sure that me and Councillor Lal chase it up. And I've got the guy at the back.
Hi, another question about safety and cycling. Councillor Rajwat, in 2021 you approved in Cabinet the current design of Cycleway 9 on Chiswick High Road. In case anyone here is unaware of Chiswick, it is a backwater in this borough as Councillor Rajwat described it recently. Perhaps you'd like to apologise for that at the end. In that approval, the Cabinet presented false data about the number of cycling collisions on Cycleway 9 since it had opened. In short, you claimed that the collision rate had fallen over 6 months, but you only used 4 months of data and over that period accidents had not decreased. In short, you provided deliberately misleading information, and I say deliberately as the Cabinet was made aware of this before its decision, but chose not to correct the data, and under the influence of the Hounslow cycling campaign, implemented the scheme anyway. Lo and behold, 2 years later, the rate of cycling collisions on Chiswick High Road has doubled since Cycleway 9 was opened. In the 4 years 2017 to 2020, there averaged 5.5 collisions per year, being 5 or 6 in any of those individual years. In almost 2 years since C9 opened, there have been an annualised rate of 10 collisions per year.
Was there a question?
Yes, there is.
So get to it, please.
Collisions that the... sorry, you've interrupted me there. It's also pertinent that serious collisions, as judged in terms of injury by the Metropolitan Police, have also doubled. It seems almost inevitable, sadly, that someone may be killed on this cycleway. If they are, then your deliberately misleading data on safety and encouragement, for example, of children to use the cycleway, might result in the council being charged with corporate manslaughter. This carries a maximum fine under the sentencing guidelines, which might be up to £20 million.
Sorry, I do
if this
apologise,
happens, and here is my question, sorry for the preamble.
Sorry, I'm going on to the next question.
If
Does
this
anybody else?
Yes,
sorry,
if
sorry,
this
I'm chairing the meeting.
Oh, sorry, I forgot to the question.
Sorry?
I'm about to ask the question.
Okay.
Which is pertinent for Heston taxpayers. If this happens, will you be putting up the council tax by over 10% in Heston to pay for the fine for putting in a cycleway in Chiswick that was basically only encouraged by the Hounslow
Really sorry, but we're in
cycling campaign?
Heston, not Chiswick. Okay, I'm going to move on to the next question. The guy at the back. Hi, thanks. Thank you.
If the council came to Chiswick, we wouldn't have to come to Heston, but it is a backwater, so what can you expect?
Yes, so my question is about speeding. I don't think we've thoroughly touched on that, but there's been a few instances where I've crossed a road near North Hyde Lane Ringway where cars are overtaking on the other side of the road, and you don't look out for that when you're crossing. You just expect nobody to be disobeying the standard rules of the road. And there seem to be a lot of boy racers who are doing that in our area, and I don't know what the solution is. I don't know if it's speed bumps, but something has to be done. As we all would have heard recently, there was a lady that was seriously injured pushing her baby with a pram across the road on North Hyde Lane. The registration plate couldn't be found or something, and so therefore I don't know what happened after that. But something needs to be done in terms of cameras and speed bumps in certain high-risk areas, and it should be fairly obvious where they are. And I think we need to do that fairly quickly before anybody gets killed.
Yeah, I agree with you. Councillor Shantanu.
Yeah, thanks for raising that. We'll get a speed audit done first and then go from there.
Okay.
Hi.
Yeah.
Yeah. Hi there. What do the councillors think about the exemption asked from the council about ULEZ? And do you think it's fair for other residents that will have to pay or change their cars? Thank you.
So, just to be absolutely clear, there is no exemption. The Mayor consulted on the expansion of ULEZ last year. He started that consultation. We responded to it. Like most other local authorities, we have vehicle fleets, and at the time, we were worried about the time it would take, expecting it to come in last year, not this year. That issue has now been resolved. There's no such thing as exemption. Unfortunately, some of our political foes are using a historic letter to try and beat us up with. It doesn't exist. It's not an issue. On the wider issue of ULEZ, might as well talk about that now. As leader of the council's position on ULEZ expansion has always been to support it. We've had presentations on air quality and the like for those reasons. Obviously, there is, and we are acutely aware, in particular in Heston and in Feltham, the impact that could have on vulnerable residents and those on low incomes. So we've always pushed and we continue to have dialogue with the Mayor's office around making sure that scrappage scheme is as comprehensive and as generous as possible. Part of that equation for me personally is that the government also needs to put its hand in its pocket and match what the mayor's scrappage scheme is. So £110 million is not a small amount of money in the grand scheme of things, but obviously there's always more that can be done there, and that's what we're pushing for. The government have made deals with other parts of the country for scrappage schemes there. We want the same here in London as well to try and protect those. More broadly speaking, I would urge residents to please check your registrations on the TfL website. It takes a couple of minutes to check. You may well find that your car is eligible. There is a lot of misinformation out there. And I'm not saying that everyone will be eligible, but for those people, that's where the scrappage scheme exists. So I hope that helps, Chair.
Thank you. And then I've got Navdeep at the front, and then we're going to move on.
Hi. Sorry, it's a question related slightly to the ULEZ point, Shantanu, but so Heathrow Airport's a huge employer in the area. There are quite a few people in this area who work at Heathrow Airport, and the 482 bus was a bit of a blessing because it gave us a direct link. But the other bus services have become less predictable. The free fare zone was abandoned during the pandemic, so there was a free fare zone which I was always saying should actually come out as far as Heston. Certainly for workers, if they've got their IDs, they should be able to jump on a bus for free because it just takes them off the road. And then obviously you've got the tube, but it adds a few extra minutes on. But I just think, given that the airport's such a large employer in the area, it's a strategic plan with the airport to see what they can do to help take cars off the road, whether they're ULEZ compliant or not, and get more and more people into public transport would be a really positive thing to do. I know Emirates left, but I know that one of the previous meetings we had 2 years ago, he talked about a holistic transport plan for Heston to look to see what we can do with TfL to make it more accessible, because Michael's point about the H32 actually gives us one reduced service to get to the Elizabeth line, and the Elizabeth line's amazing, but it affects our ability to get there. Even if you can get a bus, you have to go through Convent Way, which takes ages. So I think there's just a wider review of how do people go places without their car that we need to look at. It involves cycling as well, and how do we encourage cycling in the neighbourhood.
Great, that's great. Thank you, Navdeep. Amazing. Okay, we're going to move on to petitions. So, Sabil, come on. Go on, I'll let you come in, Sabil.
So sorry, Councillor.
Only because I like you.
Thank you. I just wanted to pick up on something that Navdeep said earlier on. We have planted a whole load of trees in this year across the borough, including in Heston and Cranford as well. My only ask is, if there's a tree outside your house, please look after it, like Navdeep said. The reason why I say that, we planted on Summer House, we planted at Westway, we planted on North Hyde Lane, we planted loads in Heston. 6 trees were knocked down.
I know, you told me that. It's heartbreaking.
And they've been replaced. They're still there. But if there's a tree outside your house, treat it like your own tree, please. Give it a water. It's thirsty like you.
Guys, like put forks or something around it so people can't put tyres over it. Do something, please.
Chair.
Old forks.
Could we take one last question? This gentleman's been waiting very patiently.
With the crime increasing day by day, we see a lot of police roaming around, and our local residents are always afraid of it. I wish the council puts about cameras increase everywhere, which would help not only the police, even the locals. That's one. And second thing is, at the high street, especially at the high street, we see a lot of beggars playing music. I don't know whether they have the license to play that. They play guitar and all that. There's on the high street, you see that.
Beggars playing music, yeah, I don't know. Okay, thank you. Okay, we're going to move on to the petitions. Bill's going to read them out.
Regarding the petitions, Councillor Malik informed me there are people here from the put in the Holly Farm CCTV petitions. Yeah, I'm very sorry to tell you, I've been chasing this one up and I haven't had a proper response yet. I can only apologise on behalf of the council that I haven't got a response to give you, but please be assured that when this meeting ends, I'm not going to just forget it because the meeting's over, and I'll keep pursuing the officer, and hopefully we'll get you something. With regard to the other petition, I don't know if anyone's here for that. That was about a right-of-way through the old Civic Centre site to the temple. I haven't had a response from housing yet. I don't think they know, but I've had one. Sabil is always straight back from the highways, and highways advise that the public right-of-way along the northern boundary of the old Civic site, along linking to Lambton Road, is still open and not proposed to be closed. Once the development is completed, the site will be much more open. The route referred to in front of the Civic Centre car park was never a formally recognised public right-of-way and no longer exists. There's a block of flats on that one. But there is a public right-of-way providing access to the footpath leading to the temple. It was never for vehicles. So we have assurance that there will be continued public right-of-way on foot through the old site to the temple, but not for vehicle. There never actually was.
Okay, great. Minutes of the last meeting, pages 7 to 11. Can we agree those, councillors? Great. The next meeting will be on the 22nd of June. And thank you all for... Sorry, but Councillor Manning. No, I'm next meeting, I'm planning on a nice beach with a barbecue. So once again, thank you for everybody coming. I hope you've enjoyed yourself with the food and the entertainment. Thank you.
Right. I'll give these back to Gary. Nabila's out there with the surveys. And then anyone else, there might still be some around.
Yeah, well...
Yes. You'll see me tomorrow then.
April.
Mr. Cole.
Yeah, I'm doing okay. I'm fine. Are you okay?
Yeah, I'm okay. Did your parents message you?
Yeah, of course.
Mine did.
You good?
No. You good?
No.
You got stood up?
No.
What's up?
So, are you free?
Yeah. Oh, you're a city boy. You should really get out more.
Are we not going to talk about it?
Do you want to explain this?
I don't think there's anything to explain.